Thank you, whoever just hit my audio alert. I didn't know my voice wasn't coming through, just the music. That worked well. The audio alert scared the heck out of me, as it's supposed to. Starting again. Hello, hey, it's me, John Park, and welcome. I was saying it feels like I just saw you. We were just here. Yeah, we were here for the AdaBox unboxing, AdaBox 009 last night, so thanks for everyone who stopped by to hang out. That was a lot of fun. And we still have Halloween projects coming, especially leading up into Halloween. And I've got one for you today. It's a nice, easy one that I think you'll enjoy, but it has a lot of impact. And let's see. Why don't we start off with something a new announcement, which you may have heard of, and that is the Adafruit Jobs Board. We have just relaunched after some time away from the Jobs Board. We now have a Jobs Board on Adafruit. Check this out. Here it is. And here's the cool thing. This is a jobs board designed for people looking to hire someone, companies looking to hire someone, and people who are offering their skills. There are contract jobs, there are full-time jobs, part-time jobs, and one of the best parts is that it is entirely free for everyone. So if you are a company looking to hire talented makers, engineers, software developers, full stack people of all descriptions, check out our jobs board. Here's some of the jobs that are posted right now, and this just launched, so I'm excited to see that we've already got quite a few high quality jobs here. I'll give a special shout out to This one, my friend Alyssa contacted me, and she is working for a company in Brooklyn called Micro that builds micro museums, and they're looking for an in-house fabricator, which sounds awesome. So go check that out. Check out all these jobs. And if you are interested in posting either a job where you're looking to hire someone for something or to share your own skills, all you have to do is have an Adafruit login. That's it. Doesn't cost you anything. So as long as you have an Adafruit login, you can go in and you can either post a job or set up your resume so that people can see the types of skills that you're offering. Super cool. Very excited that that has launched. And let's see. So moving on from the jobs board, I want to mention our coupon code for this week. And that is going to get you 10% off in the Adafruit store on anything you can imagine. Tools, microcontrollers, components, passives, books, media, all kinds of great things, excluding gift certificates, subscriptions, and software. And the coupon code for the day is Cyberdyne. Cyberdyne. That'll get you 10% off in the store. And that's a pretty good time to mention our product of the week. Our product of the week this week, I decided it was time to revisit our good friend. Let me move that out of the way. There it is. Whoop. It's the Joy Bonnet. So the Joy Bonnet is a little bonnet that fits on top of pretty much any Raspberry Pi. Here we have it on a Pi Zero or Pi Zero W, I think this one is. And it just fits onto the GPIO pins. It's a Phil B designed silk screen, so it has fun, beautiful and fun graphics on there. And this is a really easy way to get controls, particularly for games, but also kind of for anything you want, where you need input from joysticks or a joystick and buttons. It's got a couple of select buttons and start, optional buttons, as well as your A, B, X, Y, and this XY axis joystick. So that's the Joy Bonnet. The project that I built a couple of these about a year ago, I think. One of them is this little guy. This is a Raspberry Pi Pi-Cade, or what's the word I'm looking for? RetroPie, built into an NES game cartridge. If it'll focus, you can see in there I've got the ports available. So there's a full game machine in there. You just plug it in over HDMI and power, and you can play games on your TV. But you could also hook this up. There was one I did that was a sort of picture display, so a haunted portrait that was in a frame with a TV tilted vertically, and I was using it as a slideshow player to show images, creepy images with eyes looking at you. And you can page through your images or change settings using this great little interface. So that is today's, or this week's, product of the week, product of the day. And here it is. If you are looking for info, more info, just head to adafruit.com. There's the Joy Bonnet for Raspberry Pi. It's in stock. It's $15 or $14.95 if you're looking to save those crucial 5 cents. And you'll get your discount if you use the 10% off code today. What was that code? Oh, yes, it was Cyberdyne. All right. So let's see. I think this is probably a great time to dive into our Make Code Minute. All right, so for the Make Code Minute today, I wanted to talk about using hue, saturation, and value to control NeoPixels on your Circuit Playground Express inside of Make Code. So if you look at the Circuit Playground Express I have here, and I'm going to put a little diffuser on here. I'm just going to put like this plastic so you can see the colors really nicely. You'll see that I have the NeoPixels changing colors, all the colors of the rainbow. They're kind of running through the spectrum. It'll get weird when it goes to green because I'm green screening that. And the way I'm doing this is actually pretty simple. So if you look here at the Make Code, what I have going on is I've set up a variable called the hue variable. And when I run my forever loop, I essentially iterate through the numbers 0 through 255. And then for each iteration of that number changing, at first let's say it started at 0, it's going to increase that value by 1 or change it by 1. Then it's going to pause for 60 milliseconds. And then it's going to set all the pixels to this hue value. So at the start it's going to be a 0, working its way up through to 255. And the reason this is, I think, notable or interesting is that trying to iterate through colors is actually somewhat tricky in code if you're using red, green, blue. So I've made a little graphic here to help understand this. So here we have a typical red, green, blue color wheel, and you'll see that red is described as 255 on red, 0 on green, and 0 on blue. If I come over to this greenish yellow, I've got 140 on red, 255 on green, and 0 on blue. So as you can imagine, the code to keep track of this is either really complicated or you'll need a big table of colors to look at. And to interpolate or sort of mix from color to color is really tricky. So if you look instead at the image on the other side of the screen here, this is a hue, saturation, and value color wheel that goes from the 0 position through to 360 degrees or 359 degrees. And at each degree of this circle, the color is mixed from red to yellow to green to cyan to blue to purple to magenta and back to red, which is really convenient in code because that means that we just have this one single value to shift through. If you look at my code example here, I put down at the bottom, we're not actually using this, but just so you can see it, if I set all the pixels to red, green, blue, I'd need variables in all three of these shifting in weird ways. Instead, if you look at my set all pixels to hue, and then I'm leaving saturation, which is at fully saturated, and value, which is full brightness, I'm leaving those alone, and I'm only changing this one number. So if you look inside of the light category, normally you're presented with red, green, blue, but if we keep scrolling down, we get this hue, saturation, and value. So that is how you can adjust colors on the Circuit Playground Express in Make code using just the hue value. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that. And this is true not just for NeoPixels. This is kind of any time in code, in software, when you're trying to deal with color. Boy, is hue, saturation, and value a better way to go. It's rare that you run into cases where you're doing anything somewhat sophisticated where red, green, and blue is your friend. So that is my soapbox, standing on my soapbox for hue, saturation, and value. There are a lot of different ways, a lot of different color models to describe color. But that's a particularly good one. I like it. Someone had asked over in the comments on YouTube, Stuff with Kirby, is there a way to make the loops a different green shade? So this is a question because of the green screening I'm doing. You'll notice you can barely see this word loops here on the left, or the blocks there are basically see-through. And that is because their shade of green is very similar to the shade of green that I'm knocking out on the background of my desktop here. The only choice there would be to try to get Microsoft to change it. I don't think I have a way to do it. I would love if they could, or just give me an alpha channel, but none that I know of. If anyone can think of a sneaky, crazy way to do that in the browser, that would be awesome. All right, so let's see. What does that bring us to? Oh, so I wanted to move on now. We've got a nice little bit of time. I wanted to move on to talk about our project for the week, and that is this Terminator mask upgrade, the T800 Terminator. So let me step over to have a look at this lovely gentleman here. Head over to the workbench. And let's pop up another view here. All right. So you can see here what I have. This is a Terminator mask, and it sort of looks like Arnold. Maybe more accurate on the Terminator side. It's also got long, weird hair, which maybe I'd want to cut. And so my idea with this is actually an idea that I think Lady Ada had this idea. She said she and Mr. Lady Ada had seen masks like this in a store, and they said it'd be really cool instead of this just rubber painted eye if we made that eye come alive. And what better way to do that than our good friend the Hallowing? So this mask is actually pretty darn tight. It's a bit almost too tight to wear just on its own, let alone with a Hallowing inside of there. So what I decided to do is make this more of a bust. So let me switch cameras here. You can see. Oops, there we go. So I thought this might make a cool bust to stick in like a window or coming out of a bush or something like that on Halloween. Give you this kind of creepy Arnold vibe. And so the way I'm doing this is, first of all, I'm reusing this stand I had built to make my milk jug skulls. So I have a skull attached to a pipe cap screwed onto here, onto this black pipe, and then just screwed a pipe flange into this wooden stand. So this is a little small for this, so that's nice. It gives us some space to place this. And so what I was, the way I was thinking about going about this, switch cameras again for you, was to take our Hallowing and I can flip this on. Here's the, actually let me do it with this one. You'll be able to see this one a little better without reflections on it. Here is the key thing, which is Phil B. When we said, hey, we want to make a Terminator eye, he came up with that. Still get a focus on that. There we go. So this is, I love it. It's this mechanical eye. It even still has, if you watch the pupil, it should get bigger and smaller. And it's got iris blades, like an aperture. There you go, there's a better angle. Look at that. I can cover that up. Cover up the light sensor and make the pupil bigger. So this is the key thing here, is Phil made this really excellent firmware. And by the way, I've been looking in the forums and answering questions for people who've just gotten their Hallowings, gotten their Ada boxes with them in there, or just ordered them separately. And some questions, a really good question is, if you go and adjust the firmware on the Hallowing so that you can run CircuitPython by uploading the UF2 for CircuitPython, can you get back, or how easy is it to get back to any of the eyeball animations? And the answer is it's very, very easy. With this plugged into USB, you just double-click the reset button like this, and you'll see, oops, I didn't double-click it. It will go to a pulsing red light, which means that it is waiting for you to upload code. Let's see if I can, there you go. You can see that pulsing red light. You can then just drag over any of the eyeball firmwares that we have. So there's a human eye, UF2, Dragon Eye, No Sclera, Newt, and now this Terminator one. So very easy to swap that back over. So do not worry, you can always get back to the very cool demo code. So the next thing is I've screwed on this pair of screws and standoffs per hole, 4 holes, that adds a holder on top of our lens, and I have our convex lens there. So now, unfortunately I have some reflections in here, but now you can see we get some nice magnification of that eye. And so then in adding this to the mask, what I've done is, first of all, I cut out that little piece. So here's that little rubber piece. I've just snipped that out with scissors, and then you can see the edges here are going to be white from the material of the mask. It's not latex, but it's some sort of a foam rubber. And so I just went around it with a Sharpie like that so that we can get rid of the little reveal of the edge there. So it's nice that this is basically painted black in there. So I've just matched that with a Sharpie. And then if we just hold it up in there to have a look, you can see it's actually a pretty good fit just with that cut away. Look at that eye, huh? By the way, something that you can do in code, in the Arduino code for the eyeball animations, is adjust the range. So you can make it move more slowly. You can make it move less frequently. If it's one of the ones that has eye blinking, you could turn the eye blinking on and off. So it's worth looking at the Uncanny Eye project to see what are the tuning and adjustments that you can make. So with something like this, I might not want it to look in towards the nose because that can tend to look cross-eyed and maybe go a little too far versus one that's standing alone. So I don't want it disappearing from view. Actually, it's looking pretty cool. Hey, he's looking right at us. So that's one part of it. What I'm going to do is, rather than mount it inside of the mask here, since we're using the skull, I'm going to try mounting it to the skull and then fitting the mask over it. It shouldn't be too hard to get that to line up. So let's, I guess I'll set this like this here so that you can see it as I work. And one thing I've done on this one, I'll leave it alone for now, is I've plugged a much bigger battery in, just because if I want this running for a few hours, I want to have a nice big battery. So this is one of our 2200 milliamp hour batteries. I just happen to have covered it in some black heat shrink tubing. Be careful with that. You don't want to apply too much heat to a battery for obvious reasons. But for demonstration purposes, I'll just use this one. So now to get that to set there, I'm going to either just hot glue that or use some gaffer's tape. Either is not a super permanent thing. Let's go with some gaffer's tape and see how that does. And I think this is just going to hold a little better and be easier than trying to affix it inside the mask. Now you could run some screws through the front of the mask since he's got this mechanical look. So that might not be a bad way to go. But in this case, we don't have any reason to complicate things, so I'm just going to take some trusty gaffer's tape and attach that to Mr. Skull. There he goes. That's already kind of a cool look. All right, and now what we'll do, let me switch to this front view camera, and maybe I'll zoom that one in. I don't have a huge zoom on this, but at least that'll give you a little closer look. So let's just pull this on. You can see we've got a lot of room to play with there. There we go. Now if I can shield that, I'm just going to shield that from some of the reflections so you can see it a little better. There we go. Let's see, how's that lining up? Lift him a little bit. There we go. There it is. Now, what I noticed is it's a little weird to have this other dead eye. So what I decided to do was, I know there are some scenes in the movies, either the first or the second one, where he's got some sunglasses that have broken away and you're seeing one eye. So kind of riffing off of that, what I did was I took some goggles here. Let me switch cameras again for you. And these are just some cheap safety goggles. And I just sprayed them on the inside with a little bit of Plastidip, kind of a rubberized spray paint. If you do a thick enough coat of it, you can actually just peel it off later, but these are cheap glasses that I didn't need. So what that allowed me to do is cover up the dead eye, his human eye, and just leave this either as is, or we could kind of crack and break that away so it looks broken and makes more sense. But first, let's take a look at it like this and then see if we need to go for a more drastic measure. I'm just going to look at this for a second and get it straight. There we go. Yeah. Not bad. Try to get him a little closer to camera there. There you go. You can see him pretty nicely. So I think that'll make a pretty fun Halloween decoration to stick just in the window maybe, or poking out of a bush. Because why is he watching you and what's he doing there? It's going to freak people out. I also have no idea what the deal was with the hair. I'm probably going to trim a lot of this away. I don't know what all this mullety weirdness is back here. But the mask maker felt compelled to add some long locks there for our Terminator friend. Yeah, I think that's pretty good, actually. I may just leave it that way rather than cracking it and quit while I'm ahead. So that is the very simple, and as you can tell, once you've got a Halloween with an eyeball on it, since you can change out from human to different kinds of monsters and now this Terminator, there are a lot of sort of last minute either decorations or costumes that you could do. If you had a mask that was sized properly, I think you could. The Halloween is fairly flat, so if you have a little bit of space in there, you could probably, if you don't mind having one eye blocked, place an eyeball inside of a mask that you're using. Maybe a little easier is to do things like inside of a hat or inside of your clothing or an eyeball growing out of your arm if you used some latex effects makeup. But that is the project for the week, a very simple T800 upgrade for you. And now I'm going to head over to our chat and just check in and see if anyone has any suggestions or thoughts or questions or comments. Oh, that's a nice idea. C. Grover, over in our Discord chat. Let me just bring up the chat there. C. Grover says that the mechanicals on the side could use a couple of small LEDs too, which is great. So a couple of red LEDs glowing from inside of here would be really nice. You might be able to scrape away some of the paint from there and not break it all the way through and get kind of an inner glow. That's a great idea. I like that idea. I'm just going to have this guy hanging out with me while we look at the chat. Why don't you stand over here, man? There we go. His head looks huge. No? Well, maybe my head's huge and he's just close. I'll be back. I don't really have an Arnold impression. I shouldn't have even done that. I have some friends with crazy good, upsettingly, weirdly good Arnold impressions. I think that's a hobby for some people at a certain point. Let's see. Oh, that's terrifying when I scroll up in the chat and see someone saying no voice, just music. That was much earlier in the show. All right. Good. And how about YouTube? Any what's going on over there? Random Studios says, awesome. Excellent. Yeah, and you know what? Go to the Halloween store or a department store or a pharmacy. I know they carry Halloween stuff. And just look through and see what stuff can you get that you can add some cool effects to with your eyeball animation. His pupil's all big right now. I guess it got a little darker. Oh, there he is. All right. Well, I want to thank you for stopping by today. A couple things I just wanted to mention again before we go. One of them is to head on over to the store and use our 10% coupon, Cyberdyne. That's, by the way, the company that built the Terminator, if you don't remember. Cybernetic Dynamics Research Corporation or something like that. Cyberdyne will get you 10% off in the store today. Good on anything other than gift certificates, software, and subscriptions. Also wanted to mention again the job board, the Adafruit job board. So head over to jobs.adafruit.com, and there you can post up your own. Hey, get away! There we go. There you can post up your own resume and skill set. You can also, if you're looking to hire someone, post on there, and that could be individuals or companies. You might want to hire someone to help you with a project. And hey, Mr. Certainly, you just joined us. You can watch the stream later, but here's what we built today, which is our upgraded Terminator with Terminator eyeball there. Can we get focused on that? There we go. This is a beautiful new eyeball animation created by our own Phil Burgess, Paint Your Dragon. Love it. Looks fantastic. Works really well with the mask. So thank you to Phil for making that. Oh, good. See, Grover placed an order with his coupon just now. I know. I'm so happy when I hear that there are people who wait for the show with a cart full of stuff and place their order once they get the coupon code. That's very good. That's what kind of keeps the lights on here at Adafruit and Adafruit West. That's my workshop. And let's see, what else? Is Skynet powered by LoRa? That's a good question. I think so, because it's pretty darned efficient. They don't drop packets. Just a little slow. All right. Hey, awesome. So thank you all so much for stopping by today. This has been John Park's Workshop. I am John Park, and I will see you next week.